What's going on, NuCanoe Nation? Welcome back to another Unlimited podcast. This is, I think it's like episode 33. We're through 33 of these things so far, man. Hope you guys are enjoying these. Hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with Blake Young. Went over some of the new products, got some new product updates, things like that. As always, as we go through this show and you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what boat you're floating out of, and all that good stuff. Do as I'm doing. Go down in that lower left-hand corner, smash that share button. If you're watching on YouTube, share it up on the social medias, and let's have a good show. We got Anthony McNutt in the house tonight. Joining us, Anthony is from Arkansas, and he loves using his pivot drive. He's been doing some trout fishing, so we're going to dive into some of that stuff. I already see my man Garrett Pate in the house. When am I coming down? Dude, I'm working on it. I know I got to do like this national tour thing. I get so many invites from so many guys around the country, man. I'm bound for a U.S. tour. I just did a podcast last week with some guys up in Canada too, and they're like, "When are you coming up here to do some waterfowl hunting?" Go check those guys out. Punisher Waterfowl, man. It was a good episode. We talked about hunting out of the NuCanoes and how those guys are utilizing them up in Canada. So good stuff. You can find them on any major podcast platform. But let's get to the man of the hour, Mr. Anthony McNutt. Welcome, brother.
Hey, man, what's up?
Not much, man. It's good to see you again. We got to meet in person down at iCast. It was a lot of fun, man. We chatted it up for a bit, and it was always a good time. Unfortunately, you got the COVIDs, after leaving the show, but you're back 100% healthy, man. So it's good to see you fully recovered and you're doing well, brother.
That's right, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We've been trying to do this for a couple weeks.
Yep.
First week was my fault. The second week I'm blaming on Blake, but that's all right.
That Blake, and now him. I mean,
yeah. No, it's all good, man. We got you in, and it's super good to have you here. We got Chris Head in the chat. He said, I ran into Anthony on the White River on Saturday. He was in an Unlimited, and I was in my F12. Nice.
Chris.
I like it, man. Arkansas folks representing. I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Well, give the good folks at home a little background on you and how you got into kayak fishing and a NuCanoe and all that good stuff, man. And then we'll dive into some other good topics.
Awesome, man. So yes, for me, I grew up fishing. Like a lot of folks. My papa took me as a boy mainly, and that was a lot of fun. That's a whole. But kayak fishing in general. I had a buddy, everybody's got that friend you do stupid stuff with.
Yeah, I got a few of those.
Yeah. So this is that guy, right? We worked together, and he had done surf shark fishing a lot, and kept on something I just had to do, and how exciting and the rush and all this stuff. And a boy from Arkansas, I've never, done that. I'd only been to the ocean once at this point in time in my life, and I'd never been in a kayak. I'd been in a canoe a few times. This was 2010, something like that.
Okay.
So we plan this trip. We go to Galveston, the peninsula across from Galveston, on like McFadden and Crystal beaches, where it's just really a fishing beach. And we get out, and the surf is like 5-foot breakers that day. It was
wow.
Arkansas guy. It was rough.
Sure.
And he had an ocean kayak, and he gets it down off the truck, and there's surf fishermen up and down the beach, and nobody has a kayak out. And he's like, "Oh yeah, this is real kayakable. This is easy. Not a problem." He wanted to drop baits. So we get the kayak down on the life jacket and the paddle. He's like, "Okay, now what you're going to want to do is," and I was like, "Wait a minute. man, I've never been a kayak. Why don't you show me first? And he's like, no, that motorcycle wreck in my shoulder, and I can't paddle real strong, but if you're scared, I was like, give me the paddle, give me the life jacket. So it was that whole man card thing, and so I started paddling bait out, and I mean, right before he shoves me out, he's like, now if you hit a rip tide. I was like, what's that? Like back then. And so anyway, that's kind of my story of how I got in a kayak for the first time. And I started kayaking bait out. We were there for 4 days. And the next days it was easier in the surf. I got more experience. The ocean was more forgiving, and the size of them kind of went down. So okay. I didn't get rolled as much. And then on the last couple of days, it was real smooth. So I actually went like just beyond the third breakers and just started fishing out of the kayak. And
nice.
And when I told him, I was like, man, when I get home, I really want to look at getting one of these to fish out of. And that's kind of, maybe before you saw a lot of folks doing that.
Sure.
And that's kind of how it all started for me, man.
No, that's cool, dude. I like that. Speaking of surf fishing and all that good stuff, we got an episode coming up in 2 weeks. It just got confirmed with Everett Park talking about offshore fishing out of NuCanoes. So be on the lookout for that for some of you guys that and gals that want to get into the saltwater fishing. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So you come home, you start looking around for a kayak. Was NuCanoe the first kayak you got into?
It was not. I started doing the YouTube spec sheet, and dwindling down what I was going to get. I'm on rivers and creeks a lot here in Arkansas, so I was of the mindset that I had to have like this 10-foot boat, not really knowing a lot about what I was getting into, and I kind of landed on a tarpon.
Okay, so yeah.
Step up to the 12-foot so I could get a rudder on it. And I shot for like a year. And finally, when I walked in to buy my tarpon, I'd saved up the money. They had just come out, and they had like the first version of it, the Wilderness Ride 115. It had the 5 first. So I thought, I can stand up in that one, and it's only 11 and a half feet, and I can put a rudder on it. And it actually had a rudder on it, but they had it spec'd on the floor. So I ended up buying it, and that was my first boat, was a Wilderness Ride 115. And I spent a lot of time in that boat, and I kept it for a long time, even after I had different kayaks. I probably felt the most comfortable in it for a while. But man, I've owned now a ton of premium, kind of top of the line kayaks and stuff from Jackson's or whatever,
Sure. So what drew you to NuCanoe, man? Like what was the deciding factor?
Yeah. So I gained some interest in it, and really it was my local outfitter that had kind of told me a little bit about it, because I liked some stability of the lure, but that was about it. I didn't like paddle
right.
of it. It was like, man, I like the stability, but that's where it ends for me. And so they told me about that. And the other thing is I like the Made in America. There's so many kayak manufacturers made in America. I found it hard to settle on that product because it wasn't, and what
sure.
America. So a local outfitter kind of told me about it, and then I was shopping used market, still trying to pinch some pennies and stuff. And I found one used, and the guy was like 6'5" and an F12. And moved the foam out of the center and was telling me why he did was because of shipping reasons or something. So I just sent like an inquiry email to NuCanoe, like the general box. And to my surprise, the owner of NuCanoe responded to my generic email within 24 hours. And, and then like all my questions he answered for me. And that's what stuck out to me, of like, man, that's the owner of that kayak company that just answered a random internet question about a used boat sale.
Sure.
And then I kept on watching them, and I liked how when they made accessories, they retrofitted boats that customers had already purchased.
Yeah, right.
snookered into buying the new model, and it was that modular of a platform where they could just keep improving it, even once it was already out in the field. And that's what really got me to demoing them. And then once I demoed one, I was sold. I knew that was the boat I wanted.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Garrett Pate said, you found Everett. Yeah, for about 5 minutes. That was about it. He's not in the chat, bro. So, yeah. Tracking him down. Cody Harrington in the chat said, Anthony is awesome. He went above and beyond to help me get my unlimited. That's awesome, dude.
Hey, Cody. Happy to help, man.
How does that feel, man? Like, I get some comments like that too, dude. Like, being able to help guys find their boat and, get them in one, like, and then you see comments later on down the road, man, seeing photos of guys like in their boats, catching fish,
Family.
just enjoying being out there. Like,
yeah.
How cool is that, man?
It really is. And I mean, man, that's actually one of the main drivers for me is I enjoy helping people. It's just kind of one of my quirks about who I am. And like I said, I've been in and owned a ton of premium kayaks, and I learned something from all of that.
Sure.
And it really helps me, like when I talk to somebody and they start telling me what they want to do, what's important to them, what water, what activity, all of that stuff, I can narrow down pretty quick, what boats they really need to be looking at. And, if it's not NuCanoe right now, that's fine. I may tell them
sure.
something, but if it is, I can tell them that is and why. And, so I really enjoy that. And it is to see Cody's comment, it's rewarding. It's really, really nice.
Right on. I dig it, man. No, I can relate to that. Working with a kayak shop, it's, sometimes a NuCanoe isn't always going to fit somebody's budget or water types or things like that, So, being able to give honest feedback on all those different models, because I mean, I've been in a lot of them, just from, running demos, things like that. I'm always curious what other boat companies are doing, and being able to compare that, to a NuCanoe platform or another boat manufacturer or whatever, man. Like it's good knowledge to have, like I always tell everybody, man, there's no such thing as a perfect boat, but there's a perfect boat for a perfect situation, and a perfect, preference, like I always tell everybody what I like, what you like, and the next guy likes is going to be 3 different things usually. You know what I mean? So being able to have that open mindset, I think is huge, man, and being able to give that valid feedback, which is great.
Yep. Yeah. But, I learned how much time I spent in that ride was an open platform was important to me because while the ride was stable-ish, you were really limited when you stood up. You kind of stood in that one spot, and you didn't differ from that.
Yeah.
And so I learned pretty quick that I like to stand, and that was something I did on the water. So then I started trending towards more open, and each kayak was even more open than the last, and more open than the last. Then all of a sudden, I realized pretty quick that those built-in things were sales candy and not really beneficial to what I do.
Sure. I can relate to that too, man. Like, that open concept, I was in a Bonafide way back when, and I went to some Jacksons and, then ended up in a NuCanoe, and just the open deck space, man, it's such a huge thing. Mm-hmm. Like, especially like you're talking about standing and fishing. Like I love my unlimited now. I was in a Pursuit last year, unlimited this year, and like just be like I can walk. I'm a tall dude, and I'm not the skinniest guy on the block. You've seen me in person. And like, yeah, and being able to walk around on your boat, dude, is so huge, especially like spring sight fishing, being able to stand up and just get up close to the nose of the boat and being able to flip to fish, like that is huge to me. But like, I'm a tall guy. I need to stretch out, walk around a little bit, So dude, it's such a huge huge difference, man, coming from what I was in to what I'm in now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So super cool, man. I love it. I love it. So you're floating in Unlimited now, correct?
Yeah, I still have my Pursuit. That's actually, I've got it loaned out to a team member right now that's waiting on their pivot drive to come in for their boat. She's tearing up some tournaments and loving that pivot drive on the Pursuit. So she spent a lot of time in it, more time than I have this year actually. But she's been winning and doing really well out of it and enjoying it. So yeah, I wanted to get some unlimited time, and I have, and I love it. It's a great boat. Which one's my favorite? I don't know yet, man. I love my Pursuit, and that Unlimited is it's awesome. I certainly preferred my Pursuit over my F12.
Okay. Yeah.
But that Unlimited, it's definitely, I really like it for sure.
I love it. I love it. We got some comments in here for you, man. We got the Anthony McNutt fan club in here tonight. Either that or some of your team guys are chiming in, kissing up. But Bo Proc said, ask him why we should all keep track of our cell phones at demo days.
Oh, jeez. Oh, that's not sucking up.
Well, Bo, you just got demoted, my friend.
Oh man. So an outfitter in our area that Bo and I both really enjoy supporting, OMTC. They have their demo days, one every weekend for each one of their 4 locations. The weekends in June, and first one of the year, I'm out at a small lake in a small cove, and about halfway through the day, man, my necklace starts vibrating, telling me it's disconnected. I couldn't find my phone anywhere. Double zip pocket. It's got a side zip for if you're sitting down, and then a top zip. Well, my side zip was undone. And when I had gotten in the water at some point in the boat, it fell out.
Oh, no.
And it was later. And then at the end, and there's so many people and boats, like you can't see the bottom of the lake,
Sure.
So, and I just really think my phone's gone. And it's an iPhone 10 and Pro, or whatever. So,
yeah.
I was like, all right. And end of the day, I was literally the last one to leave, and the water's calm and all that silt has sit, and it's clear. And I just put my polarized fishing glasses on and start walking the bank, looking genuinely where I was when my necklace started vibrating. And sure enough, I saw it about 30 foot offshore. And I walked out there, and the water was just ear deep, my ear underwater as I reached for it and picked it up off the bottom. And as it came up, I saw it light up, from the movement. And then when it came above the surface, it gained signal. And that's the phone I'm using right now for this. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I got a message, I think it was yesterday or the day before, from a guy locally here. And it was through Facebook Messenger. And he said, funny story. My phone is at the bottom of the Madison chain. What do you use for a tether for your phone? Because I'm known for that, so we'll leave it at that. But Levi Schneider tuning in said, I'm 6'10", 370. He uses a Frontier 12 and now has an Unlimited. Ain't no better ride for the big and tall boys. Dude, you are tall, bro. I'm scared of you, Levi. You're a tall dude.
You get him, Brian.
Dad's tuning in tonight. He said you even got him out fishing in an F12, and he says you do an awesome job at putting people in the right boat for what they want to do. Yeah. Nice.
So, of course, he's my fan club. He may be a little biased there.
Hey, it's the same thing with me, man. Yeah. If I'm on the road, fishing tournament, just fun fishing every night, the old man's calling me like, how'd it go? Did you catch any fish? Yeah. This and that. Like last night I went up waterfowl hunting in Wisconsin, and I'm driving home and phone's ringing, and I knew exactly who it was. Well, did you get any ducks? And I was like, no, unfortunately not. But
cool thing about my dad is he's not a small guy. He's 6'1", 6'2", under two, just under 250 probably.
Sure.
Very active and in shape, but he still hasn't just been really comfortable standing in kayaks. I don't know maybe saw him stand in his ride once just to see if he could, and he didn't stand in his pursuit. But man, when he got in my F12, he was standing up paddling it, and he goes, "This is my boat," and that's the boat he's been in ever since. He sold his pursuit and got an F12, and he loves that thing. He's in it as much as he can be, and stands. Now I actually see him stand and fish, and he seems so much more comfortable because it fits him so well. So
nice. Mark Savage in the chat says, I love the Unlimited, but man, the Pursuit is still number one for me. It's hard to beat. That's like an ongoing argument now that the Unlimited's out. You got the Pursuit guys, you got the guys that converted to the Unlimited. Some guys are on the fence, some guys are all for one or the other. But looks like Dad and Mom are arguing in the chat who is the biggest fan. Mom is claiming that title. So there you go, man.
Thanks. I love you.
I love it, dude. So let's talk some trout fishing, man. You said you've been hitting the local river down by you, catching some nice trout. Like, can we talk about the name of the river?
Yeah, man. I've been hitting the White River. Been there the last 3 out of the 4 weekends. That's about a 2.5 hour jog from where I'm at right now. My 40th birthday was on the White River. My wife planned a phenomenal trip, to my surprise, and that's one reason why I've gotten to be there the last 3 or 4 weekends. But that was a lot of fun. I actually put my 10-year-old niece on some fish, and she got 5 in the pot, a real nice rainbow, like nice rainbow. And I don't know that I've ever yelled over my fish, but I yelled over hers. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's super cool, man. So is it just like primarily a rainbow trout river, or you guys got brown trout, brook trout, things like that in there?
They have the brook trout, cutthroat, rainbow, brown. They have all of that. The rainbow is going to be the most common that you catch. And so
right on, man.
Right on. Golden trout.
Well, you were telling me before we started that like it's a world-renowned trout fishery, and I was kind of surprised. Like I've heard about trout fishing down in the Arkansas area, but I didn't know it was as big as it was.
Yeah, man. The White River there, it's high tourism. It's dam generated on so that's how it's maintained, the water temperature and everything. It's not necessarily a spring river, but it is pretty large, and it gathers a whole lot of attention. Gaston's is a really large resort that has a lot of traffic and a large reputation across the world, really. And it has a trip that you can fly and land into. I stay at the White Hole, man. The White Hole Resort there is just top-notch owners, facility. It's got the deepest hole in the White River. It's just 6.5 miles down from the dam, and it's on River Right. And
what's the name of the place?
White Hole Resort.
White Hole. You better upgrade him to the penthouse suite for plugging you guys next time he's down there. No, that's cool, man. I enjoy it. Like, so are the trout there native to that river, or was it like through stocking programs?
They definitely did stocking programs. That dam was built in the 50s. So before, it had been, you'd catch bass or perch or, whatever.
Sure.
But it's definitely now a natural habitat. However, they still do some stocking habits just because of the heavy fishing and pressure that goes on in that body of water.
Sure. No, that's cool, man. I'm pretty fortunate, like right over the border in Wisconsin here, we got what's called the driftless area along the Mississippi River. And that was an area of the state that like a lot of people don't realize when you hear Wisconsin. You say Wisconsin, everybody thinks of cows and cheese and corn. But on that west side of the state along the Mississippi River Valley, they call it the driftless area because it was never hit by glaciers. So it's really hilly, a lot of rock outcroppings, rock bluffs, things like that. But in return, it left a lot of these spring-fed chalk streams through there.
Oh, cool.
And it's got native brook trout in it. There is native brown trout, and I think there is some native rainbows in there as well. But I mean, it's super cool, man. If you're ever up in that area and you enjoy trout fishing, like I'm talking streams that you could jump across that hold like 20 plus inch trout, which is pretty crazy. But it's just such a beautiful scenic area to just go out and fish. There are some wider streams where you could float down in kayaks. But there's like you could drive an hour in any direction and hit hundreds of different little streams like that
That's
that
cool.
just are chock full of trout. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So you doing when you're not trout fishing on the river, are you typically a river fisherman, or are you a lake guy too, or kind of anything and everything? Or
Yeah, I'll go out on the lakes and fish for sure. But I love the river. And that was another reason that NuCanoe was such a good fit for me, because that craft is a paddle craft first. That's what I tell everybody. And it will do phenomenal on river or flat water, like whatever you're wanting to throw at it. But I was really interested in pedal drive. And the fact that it was on the back and popped up if I hit something, to me, that was so crucial. Is what I would have been looking for if I was ever going to actually utilize a pedal drive boat, just because the majority of my time is on a river where I can run into shallows or, shoals or, whatever. And that feature was important to me.
nice. So, I mean, are the rivers fairly shallow where you're fishing, or fairly deep? If you're running a pivot drive, I would assume they're pretty big rivers, right?
It really depends. When I get on the Buffalo, I may retract my.
Uh-oh. I think Anthony got a phone call or a text message. We'll give him a second to get back here. But I know he's a big pivot drive guy, so that's why we're kind of segueing into that next segment there on the pivot drive, just because it's. Yep, you're back, man.
Sorry, technical difficulty.
It's all right. You were getting a phone call. I know how it goes.
No,
This ain't
that
my
was
first
a
run.
catch for the trash pickup.
I got you.
I had to turn it off. But,
Well, I was just
no,
mentioning, like, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like on some of the bodies of water, I may retract my pivot drive up, on some of the streams and rivers or creeks that I'm in several times throughout the day, to keep from dragging it or something, or I don't notice a boulder, and it was a little bit, it's clearly low enough the boat to go over, but the pivot drive hits it and pops up, or something like that. So,
Right on.
but when you the great pool and there's some headwind, and and that current kind of slacks off, and you've been floating all day, and it's really nice to just lean back and pedal and not have to fight, all of that circumstance with your arms. The other is just staying on fish and then getting back. If you get a snag in the river, it's a whole lot easier to pedal right back up river and, free that up. And then, yeah, it's been really nice in a lot of different ways.
I've done that once or twice. I'm just saying. Hooked up with the bottom, that is. I'm a pro at that. I've pulled many of weird things off the bottom of rivers and lakes. Well, you're super familiar with our pivot drive, man. You've been using it quite a bit. I know a couple of our team guys chimed in earlier and said, you kind of helped them out with some things and stuff like that. And Mark Savage is asking, what kind of like regular or annual maintenance do you recommend for like somebody that's using a pivot drive?
Yeah, so there's a food grade grease, and I can send him an Amazon link to the exact one that NuCanoe uses. And if you're in heavy salt or something like that, you're welcome to once a year, maybe take that drive cable out and fill up the tube with maybe an inch worth of that grease, and then just slide the cable back into the tube, and then just always rinse with fresh water, after you get out of salt. But I mean, man, really, that's it. full disclosure, I've done zero maintenance to mine, and I beat the crap out of it, But I don't know what I should be saying that, but yeah.
No, that's interesting, man. Like, why? What do you like most about the pivot drive? Like, I'm assuming you've been in other pedal drive boats and things like that. Like, what really does it for you when it comes to the pivot drive compared to maybe some of the other drives on the market?
Yeah, so for me, I like the instant reverse, that I get from the pedaling. That's real intuitive to me, from a bicycle standpoint. Um, I like the quietness and the smoothness, and the efficiency is like my casual pedal without just a ton of effort moves me about half a mile an hour slower than if I all out crank down on the pivot.
Sure.
So it seems to do a lot at a very comfortable pace, and it's really quiet and it's really smooth. And then that it's on the boat and pops up if I hit an obstruction or something. And then the other thing to me is I may go through a mile of the river where it's not in the water, because it is shallow or whatnot. So I need a craft that paddles. And that boat does that really well.
That's huge, man. I know
Yeah.
the first time I got behind the pedals of the pivot drive, like I was used to another manufacturer, and a lot of like pedal drives on the market have a lot of resistance. Whereas, like you said, like that pivot drive is just so smooth and buttery. Like I was overworking myself, like just over pedaling because I was so used to that resistance in the other drives. And that's what really surprised me. It took a little adjustment to like, hey, calm down, just pedal a little slower and you're going to go just as fast. And but like once I did that, I was like, dude, this is so nice. And the quiet factor, man, like that is so huge. So huge, man.
Steering on the stern, the maneuverability is just it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you could like it, like that drive turns almost 90 degrees to the stern of the boat and you could just run in circles almost.
Yeah, my 13.5 pursuit will turn within its own length.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And what's interesting about that is, like any other pedal drive, you've got to get decent forward momentum before the turn really starts to happen with that center console.
Sure. But yeah.
Drive, I mean, it's, with it being on the stern, you don't have to do that. I think it really helps you stay on position better because of that feature.
For sure. I totally agree with that, man. And yeah, there's definitely
pedal boats are made to be a pedal boat.
Right.
So then them is just not pleasurable, for a long time. If you're a tournament guy that's always in a lake, there's probably a plethora of options to you, But for me and anybody that says I want to run rivers and also use a pedal boat, you're pretty much looking at NuCanoe.
Heck yeah, man. I like it. Very cool, man. Any additional thoughts on the pivot drive?
No, not that I can think of. It's something I'm pretty particular about my stuff and how my boat's organized and all that kind of thing. And for me, my biggest worry was the cables being on top.
Sure.
And what's interesting is the first time I put it on and saw how everything laid out, it was just zero of a concern for me. So
yeah, I agree, man. I run the EPS and, I have the cable going back to the steering cable going to the back. And I'm like, I don't know how much I like this. And now that I've used it, I'm like, why was I even concerned about that? You know what I mean? Like it's never in the way. I never get hooked on it or anything like that. And even the few times I've used the pivot drive, like same thing. Like I thought the same thing as you. Like, I don't know if I like these cables laying across the deck. I'm going to get tangled up in them. I'm going to trip on them, whatever it may be. And none of those factors came into play for me.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Very cool, man. Well, I'll final thoughts, man. Shout outs, thank yous, all that good stuff, man. Any final words, final thoughts, man? The floor is yours, brother.
Man, OMTC in Northwest Arkansas gave me my first shot at being on their team and put me in a NuCanoe or helping me get in one. And I really appreciate that for them. I really appreciate Blake Young being so customer and dealer driven. It makes it really easy to be a part of a team like that, you know? So that's probably all I really got.
Amen to that, man. I love it. I love it. Socials, man. Where can folks follow you and keep up with what you're doing on the water, bro?
Yeah.
All right. Instagram is at Anthony.McNutt. You can follow him there. You're on Facebook as well, just Anthony McNutt. Check him out.
That's right.
As always, guys and girls, we're here every Tuesday evening, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Be sure to tune in. I know that Everett show that I talked about doing offshore saltwater fishing, that will be on a Wednesday. Sometimes we have to do Wednesday shows. I know last week we had to do Wednesday because that's when Blake was going to be in Seattle, but we are typically here Tuesday evenings. You can get us on Facebook, YouTube. If you just tuned in, you missed part of the show, you can always go back and watch on the Facebook or YouTube page. But we also upload it to all major podcast platforms. Just search NuCanoes Unlimited. You can find it there. We're always talking to our team members, dealers, and obviously Blake Young giving product updates, ship dates, things like that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Anthony, thank you, my friend, for taking time out away from the family tonight. Oh, go ahead.
Aren't there a question you're forgetting to ask me that you ask everybody?
Oh, dude. Holy crap. Dude. I epically failed. See what happens when I don't have to ask that question? Like Blake threw me through a loop. I'm like off my game. Yes. Last question of the night. Frontier 12 rigged tandem. You can go fishing with anyone, dead or alive. Who's it going to be?
My papaw. He's dead. He's passed away. But that's my untangible one. My tangible one is Everett Park taking me offshore to catch those big fish that he lands.
Ooh. So, all right. I'll be sure to mention that to the man, the myth, the legend when he's on in 2 weeks. We'll see if we can make that happen for you, my friend.
I've never been offshore like that in a kayak to chase those kind of fish, and like at least the last few times he's put some big fish. And like the one in the Unlimited, yeah, put me on that. That would be a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, I was super jealous when those guys were talking about going down after ICAST and going offshore. And, I've always told Everett, like, my bucket list fish. I've never fished saltwater ever. I've seen the ocean many a times. I've fished in more states than I could probably count on my hands and toes in the United States, but I've never dipped a line in saltwater. And a tarpon is my bucket list fish, which Everett caught a huge one a couple years ago. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I will do anything for you to take me on that trip. And I don't know, some sweet talking, maybe send him some hunting equipment, things like that. I might be able to make it happen.
You have to tell me, what really talks to him so I can kind of grease.
Hey, it's either that or we guilt trip him because he's never tuned in on Tuesday nights, and we could just go down and kidnap him. We'll forewarn his wife, hey, we're just going to borrow your husband for a few days and just pick him up, tie him up, throw him in the back of the truck and force him out into the water. I mean, that's always an option. Just saying.
If you're in Arkansas and you're on Facebook, hit up Paddle Arkansas. That's a group we started. Me and a buddy of mine who's not in a NuCanoe, we really kind of did it together. And but yeah, it's Tim. I don't know if he's watching, but But anyway, if you're in Arkansas and want to get together and connect with other paddlers or fisher, I don't care if you're in a canoe or Pelican or whatever you're in, man, that's a group where we just get together and schedule some fisheries together or whatnot. So,
Oh, that's super cool, man.
yeah.
Super cool. Yeah, check that out on Facebook, Paddle Arkansas, boys and girls. Thank you, Anthony, for reminding me of the epic question that I missed tonight. I feel bad. I almost skipped over that. So thank you for reminding me. Thank you again for taking time away from the family to sit down and share your love for kayak fishing and NuCanoe and everything you do, man. We appreciate you. Everybody tuning in at home, thank you as always for tuning into the show, dropping your questions in the chat. We always enjoy the interaction with you guys out there in the good old interwebs. As I stated before, you guys can always go back, watch the show on Facebook, YouTube, or catch it on any major podcast platform. Just search NuCanoes Unlimited. Till next time, boys and girls, tight lines, smooth paddling.